I think I did it. I think I did it. It's happening. Golly. First, I had my Lumix hooked up to my Mac Studio using a cam link. That worked last time I did this, no problems. The cam link clearly got stepped on or something, and it was just banding really bad and it wasn't working. HDMI cable was fine. So here we are. Let's get rid of this microphone because I'm not using that anymore. So we just broke out the old laptop. Tech support. I just refreshed the browser and it was like, oh, yeah, you can do this stuff now. So here we are. What is up, everyone? We're going to have to deal with the webcam, but at least the lighting was still set up. So this is still happening. All right, let's go back to this chat and see if there's anything worth commenting on. I know you're a red guy, Lumix S12. The Lumix S12 is interesting only because, I mean, like has the same sensor as the ZR. And the ZR, I don't know if anyone's been following me on Reels, but like the ZR is really cool. I really like it. I did send my loaner back, but I might still add it to the kit. But the fact that the other codecs on it are just so bad, I can't replace my Lumix for YouTube style stuff with it. So I don't know. Do I need 4 cameras? Probably not. So I'm debating something like the S1 or like waiting for Nikon's next camera. Yeah, Zachary, I totally get that. I think I talked about this in one of my videos too, but like when I was coming up, I was constantly inspired by the cinematography in movies. Like any movie I went and saw, I was like, how do they make it look like that? How do I make my stuff look like that? And now when I watch movies, I'm like, I don't want my stuff to look like that. And it's no offense to those cinematographers. I don't know what's going on. It's just maybe I'm just used to the old ways. What separates your DP cores from others like Wandering DP or Holba Academy? Good question. I haven't like watched theirs, so I don't know what they do. I mean, obviously Shane Hurlba is like the thing is about his is like I don't know if you've seen his most recent ad, but he's turning on like I don't know millions of dollars worth of lighting equipment, which is helpful for a certain person, but I don't think that's helpful for new cinematographers or people that are new into the career and they're trying to learn more. Uh, so this would be different than that. It'd be a much more practical way of seeing how someone in the intermediate to beginner level would learn the approach to cinematography. And basically, I explain like all of these like nuanced things that I do in my workflow to make sure that I never kind of screw up on set. Like I think a lot of times when I started, I would have like, you get nervous, you get butterflies in your stomach. You're supposed to walk in and perform. You're kind of like an athlete or something. You have to walk in and do the thing. And so by having all of this like this game plan and knowing how to problem solve certain things before you get there, so when you show up, you just don't look like an a-hole and you know what you're doing. That's kind of what my course is about. And I walk through problem solving techniques on how to do that. I have like a checklist when you get the course that explains basically if you whip out that checklist on any shoot or in pre-production or during production, and if there's something that you haven't checked off, we'll figure out how to check that off, and your image is probably going to look better. So it's really just like a guideline to make sure that you're always prepared and you always make the best image you can. That's what my course is kind of about. And I walk through it, with like a medium-sized lighting setup and in a small lighting setup. I talk about like how you can use like a 60-watt light versus 720-watt light or 120-watt light or 1200-watt light, and the differences between those, and how there's really not that much of a difference. And so it's just kind of it's a mindset that kind of scales. Wandering DP talks a lot more about he's more like using Cinema 4D and all that stuff, and he's like walking through a lot of like communication style stuff. I think on his mine is much more practical. It's kind of like if you don't want to watch 1,000 YouTube videos, watch my course instead, you'll probably learn a good majority of stuff in a less than 3 hours. And then you can hang out with me in the Discord, ask me any questions whenever you want. We can do stuff like this. That's basically what the course is like. Hope you're doing well. How do you like to add fill in scenes? Do you like working with just bounce or do you prefer bringing fixtures in? Fill light is an interesting thing. I don't use fill light a lot. Um, if I need to, what I like to do is kind of change the approach and not just bring in fill later. I actually want to make a video about this pretty soon, but a like kind of lighting technique that I really like if I feel like I need more ambience. And there's a lot of ways you can do that. It could just be like a camera change, like setting change. But I like to bring in like a big soft source and back it way off and basically give the whole room a nice ambient directional light. And then I bring in maybe like a 4 by or something around that size, like my light mat that I'm using like right now. And I bring that in on my subjects. And so that kind of gives that kind of fill lift, but then you still have another soft source that you can move around. But usually, most cameras are sensitive and you just don't need fill light. You're probably trying to take away more light than you are using fill light. But you could definitely just bring in a 4 by bounce if you need a little fill light as well. I don't like fixtures um, to do that usually because a fixture is going to give you more problems that you have to solve, be a little bit more sourcey, and you're gonna have to diffuse it, or you're gonna have to bounce it, all that. So I prefer bouncing it or keeping it backed off and diffused. Getting more inspiration from video games. That's funny. Yeah, and so I think that's interesting, and I don't like once again, I don't wanna talk to the big, like, movies and the TV series and stuff, but that's a game plan thing. It's like what it seems to me like nothing is by accident, right? You know, on a $70 million movie, these things are not by accident. They're trying to make the image that they're making. So I think like so you're saying like video games might be more inspiring right now, or maybe like photography or something like that. It's because the person is trying to create a different look. And so all these movies are leaning the same direction. They're trying to make it look like that. Now, whether that's a studio thing, whether that's like, they're like, oh, we have to have everything muted and lifted because TVs don't like dark blacks and everyone hated Game of Thrones. And I also want to make a video about this, but like darkness is not something that is you're not shooting dark to create darkness. You're adding more contrast in certain areas to create darkness, and that should not affect the gamma on a TV. It shouldn't affect the blacks. If you are getting that right, you shouldn't have to worry about it. So these like dark, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. And someone did comment on my video where I did recolor grade new trailers, and which man, that video got a lot of hate, which is funny. But I think trailers are looking different than the movies. And then I think movies are maybe like in the theaters, and I think movies are even looking different when they get to streaming. So I think there's like a really fragmented color pipeline happening depending on where they're delivering it. I think this is intentional. Yeah, Shane or Hulbert. And now I'm sure Shane teaches you those other things. Um, but he also does like a yearly subscription, whereas mine is just a one-time fee. You join the community, you're there for a lifetime. Unless you want to give him like 2,500 bucks, I think that my price is pretty well. Like my course is pretty well priced because it's like that's not like one day on set as a DP. Even at the lowest level, you should be getting more money than my course costs for one day's work. So if my course helps you, like I feel like it's a pretty good value point in my opinion. AI for I have not dealt. Okay, I guess I have dealt with a client needing AI for a creative task, and I haven't figured out fully how to navigate that. My last on my last live stream, we talked about this. There was, and it's all of my friends doing this, but it was a tight turnaround, and so I don't think anyone really could change what they were doing. But I think we did like a background extension where we needed a shot to look a lot bigger, and we used AI to do that, and I didn't really like how AI changed the environment so much. And if I had more time, I would have got in there and tried to give a lot more of my influence to the image and to the lighting and to the colors, etc. Um, but it was one of those things that just was like a 2-day turnaround, and so I had to just be like, "All right, there it is." But I feel like 2 hours in Photoshop could have done maybe just as good of a job, if not a better job, because we would have had more control. Um, I don't know. I'll let you know. Most people that I've been working with have not gone down the AI rabbit hole yet. Now, I have been seeing it pop up, and I'm curious to see if it starts to conflict. But I think that like people aren't really hiring me to not use my look and to not use my skills. So I don't know. I maybe I'm like out of that realm currently. People are kind of dumb on it, setting up their TVs. Yeah, I don't know, but I think a lot of TVs are also like hyper contrasty if you haven't done anything to them and they have motion smoothing on. So I'm not really sure. Like, I don't know. You guys tell me. Like, do modern movies look good to you? Like, am I just being? Is it just like I am stuck in my ways? But I feel like if Roger Deakins is like the goat, nothing looks like what Roger Deakins would do, right? Like, the techniques are completely different. Not to say that everyone should copy Roger Deakins. Like maybe we're trying to create a new look. You know, maybe that's what's trying to be like moved into the industry. But very uninspiring to me. Marty Supreme looked pretty good. Shot on film. Yeah, dialogue is really dumbed down. Yeah, there's like a lot of stuff online about how probably is because people are background watching. But to me, like if your dialogue has a lot of conflict and drama in it, you're gonna lean in and want to watch more. So I've been watching some old shows lately. Like I've been watching Homeland. It was like an old Showtime show they put on Netflix now, and it's from like 2016. And it's pulling you through the whole time. There's so much nuance going on, and I'm not even saying it's like a great show, but it's so much better than modern stuff because it's actually doing that dialogue work and that tonal work. Yeah, Netflix lighting and swim mode. Yeah, I think you're right, and I think that will hopefully cause a reaction. Now I'm more optimistic this way, and hopefully, Netflix and these other companies will change some stuff, but hard to say. So some other topics. I could sit here and rant about that stuff all day, but I'm getting the Pixis 12K in. Now, I was apprehensive of testing that camera because it seemed that there was some hocus pocus noise reduction going on that camera, even though it's shooting raw. And I know it's a new sensor and stuff, but that was something that I didn't really want to, that didn't pique my curiosity. That made me kind of lean against it. But I am curious about modern cameras since I have been shooting on my old red cameras, and I'm curious about kind of where they are going and how the colors react. And I think a lot of other people are still in the market for that sort of thing. So I'm going to get that in. I'm going to get the monitor with it. I'm going to throw my Thypox on it and give it a good test. I'll have it for like a month. And so I'm curious to see how that camera performs. And I want to see if there's any quality control issues with it. I know a lot of people have had quality control issues with the last 12K and then also with the Pixel 6K. Um, but I'm hoping that maybe like because that 12K sensor is so nice, like maybe that stuff's kind of worked out. Tested out raw A video on the new iPhones. No, I have an old iPhone. I refuse to upgrade my iPhone, so I haven't tried any of that stuff. I do think it'd be interesting. I wanted to like push that a lot more in my course. I didn't have one at the time, but I do think a modern iPhone with proper lighting could do a lot for like a lot of people. And I know people have saying like use an iPhone for a very long time, but I think the newest ones with that raw workflow with the ProRes if you wanted to in the log. I think it's like the best time ever to attempt that. Creative or professional resolutions for 2026. I don't know. I'm gonna just try to like give more value this year to everyone online. Like I'm getting like a little bored with my commercial work. I'm going to be making more short films. I'm going to be doing a lot more short films, and I'm hoping to make a movie. But right now, I've been working on my course stuff, so I kind of put my feature film stuff on the back burner for a little bit. But that's the plan. I mean, narrative stuff is always the plan. Commercial stuff, not so much. I like nonprofit work. I hope I could get some more of that stuff. Um, so definitely more narrative, more narrative. I'm trying to learn to collaborate a lot more on narrative. So I've got some. I'm teaming up with a writer now who's written a couple scripts that I'm going to shoot and help direct those. So that should be fun. Thoughts on the Raptor XE at that price? I want the Raptor XE at that price. It only has like one more feature than my Monstro, so it's hard for me to like justify paying for it. But if there's a reason down the road, then I would. Yeah, I think that's like a very good price. Like, and you think about like the Fuji Eterna coming out at like 16 grand or whatever. Maybe they lower the price. I can't remember, but like the Raptor spec wise. Now, whether you like red cameras or not, whether you like the look or not, spec wise, the Raptor is incredibly spec'd. Like, if you got a camera like that, the XE or just the regular X, you basically wouldn't need to upgrade your camera for, I don't know, 7 years or something. Um, and I'm going to touch on this in a video soon, but like buying and owning a cinema camera is such a good investment. My Komodo paid itself off in 2 months, and I've had it for 4 years or something like that, right? And then I'll be able to sell it at some point and still get some money back on it. So like owning a camera is, as long as you know you have work coming in, even if it's 1 day a month. I just never walk out the door with any of my cameras and not charge $300 for the camera. Like I don't care what set you're on, what you're doing. Like you can basically, clients don't really know. So I mean, you could say my kit's $300, and maybe it's not just your camera. Maybe there's got some other lenses in there, some wireless in there, whatever. It's just really easy to like have people um, give a little rental for a camera. So I think that XE is really well priced if you have any sort of consistent work, and it'll hold its value okay. What kind of gatekeeping are you talking about, Zachary? That's strange. I mean, I get that. It's getting really competitive. Anyone can buy a camera now, but like getting good is a different story, of course. What gates do you need opened? Let me know. I'll try to open them right now. Oh, ego. Yeah, I found that in the commercial side of things, there's a little bit less ego, and then when you're on the film side, there's more ego, and I expected it to be the opposite. For a long time, like when I started, I interned on some movie sets in the camera department, kind of big movies, and very quickly was like, man, everyone's trying to like take each other's job, and like it was a strange environment, and so I stepped away from that for a while and focused on commercial stuff, focused at getting better, focused on music videos, um, and now I've like worked my way back, and it's getting a lot better. People are nicer than they used to be, but it's definitely like a different atmosphere, I would say, even though you would think they would overlap a lot. But they're just not getting paid as much per day, and they're working a lot of days in a row. And I think there's a little bit of like scarcity mindset. Well, I'm in the Midwest, so like, I mean, I'm in Oklahoma, and Oklahoma actually is getting a lot of TV series and movies coming in now. But it's still like not enough work. And I've already heard about this in LA too. There's not enough work to go around, so people are like kind of, yeah, they're definitely away. Spencer. It's Jared. Jared who? Uh, White whale lenses still out there for you. Hmm. I mean, I would love to shoot on any of the higher end Leica lenses or the lights lenses. That would be really fun. I had a project recently where I could have used basically anything, and we ended up going with um, the news, not the Master Primes, the newer Master Primes. Well, I remember what they're called. Oh, Estevez. What up, Jared? Signature primes. We ended up going to signature primes, and they were really nice, but they really had no character, and I knew that. But I kind of wish maybe I would have like I was almost going to go black wings on those, but the creative really didn't call for something spicy like that. I think the black wings would be cool. I would be curious now that's lower end, but I would be curious if Thighpoc made lenses that had a bigger image circle because right now they have vignette on my Monstro, and I like those Thighpocs a lot. If they could make the Thighpocs without lens breathing and a little bit of a bigger image circle, I would be all in on those. I like the thigh box a lot. I tried to use the Focus Pro on some jobs and then quickly just didn't do it. I've just been lucky enough to always have a camera assistant there that just is really good. And I haven't needed to use the Focus Pro. Oh, I'm sorry. If we're just talking about the Focus Pro itself and not the LiDAR, I'm sorry. The Focus Pro, yeah, I've used it since day one of getting that. Never had any issues with it. I still use it every day, like on every shoot. It's nice. I have like all the motors. You could do like we did like a car mount thing where we could like change the iris if we needed to and change the focus. So it worked with multiple motors just fine. Lens breathing is prime cinema. I don't know if you're being sarcastic, but I know you youngins do like lens breathing for some reason. I know people that like anamorphic. They like I want it to look as crappy as possible. Like give me the lens breathing. I'm more of like the Fincher side. Like I want it to be invisible, but that's just me. Mm-mm. Now the thigh parks did work well on the Nikon ZR, which was nice because they cover that sensor. And the Nikon ZR was fun. Did a little shoot with it recently where I just seen some quick B-roll. Jared was actually there, um, and I just said, let's just go get some quick B-roll without any of the other cameras. We had two. We had a Komodo X, a Komodo, and a ZR, and I just pulled my own focus with that little 4-inch screen, no rig on the ZR at all. And the images turned out really, really clean, really nice, zero complaints. So I'm kind of like, I still want to add that to the kit. I don't know. We'll see. Zachary, is there any, you say film work, is there commercial work there or are you wanting like movie work? Like, I don't think you need to move. I think that, I mean, I know a lot of people moving back from LA right now because of the environment currently. No one's actually shooting in LA. Like productions are just shooting elsewhere. They're either shooting in other countries or they're shooting in other states with better tax breaks for movie type stuff. You just got to network and then make your own scene. Like do what you can to make your own work happen, whether that's shooting spec stuff or that's collaborating with other people, doing some free work. But you just need to like meet a lot of people, be a good person. Older cine lenses often breathe quite a bit. Yeah, they do, but it just can be jarring sometimes if there's going to be like a big pool. Now, it doesn't bother. Like I did my first feature film on the Doolins APO primes, and they breathe a lot. And there was like a couple rack focuses in there, and so you really notice it. On general like pool, it's not going to be a big deal. Like even just someone walking across the room, you're just not going to notice it. If the image looks incredible, like I still use the Thighpocs and they breathe really bad. So It's a trade-off. But it just seems like in 2026, why are your lenses breathing? Thighpox, I understand because they quickly converted them from stills lenses and they wanted to keep them small. So I understand that. Oh man, I don't know. Commercial work, just not a lot of it in Indiana. Surprising. I mean, I feel like every little Midwest um, state has some sort of little ad agencies. I would just start shooting stuff, get on Instagram, and post a lot of stuff, and like tag your city or something like that. And definitely live in a city. I mean that, and maybe that goes without saying. But you want to be where all that stuff is happening. So small town outside of a city, don't do it. Like go to the main hubs. A lot of work in LA, but the circles are ironically tight. Sure. Ironclad tight, I'm sorry. Yeah, I can see that. Only bringing up their circles. LA sounds not fun. It sounds lonely. No, I would not post on Vimeo to get noticed. When I was coming up, that was like what made my career was like Vimeo staff picks and the ability because they really promoted things like that. But then they started taking away like rights to music videos. They started just taking down people's work. I think it's one of the better places to put your video because it's like less compressed. But no, I don't put anything on Vimeo. I haven't in a long time. It's a weird place. I think that you just have to use Instagram, even though it's like small and compressed. I would say Instagram is still the it's going to give you the most eyeballs. What up, Joshua? Did you just do a live stream? Did yours go better than mine? Because my whole thing broke, and now we're using this webcam and AirPods right now. Sushi Donut, are you in LA? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I think it's tough because I think it's like I was talking about my director friend that's moving back from LA here in a couple months, and he's like repped by a big production company. But like I don't know. It's the grass is always greener, but like you can be like a big fish in a small pond, or like a big fish in a big pond with a lot of other big fishes. It feels it's a harder thing. I don't know. Like if and everyone thinks they're the one. Everyone thinks like, no, I'm the one that's gonna make it, right? And if everyone has that mentality, I could see how ego and circles and clicks and just backstabbing could happen. Um, I'm sure there's good people in LA. I'm not saying there's not. That's not what I'm saying. But it's like it just seems like the environment could cause that, and it's just so expensive to live there. And so that is such an odd thing. Like, how do you focus on work life balance living in LA? Like, you give it like 5 years, 8 years, or something, and if you don't make it, then you got to go back because it's like there's so much more you can do. Like, there's so much I can do in Oklahoma. Like, everything is really cheap. I can meet up with my friends whenever I want. We can make stuff whenever I want. I don't have to get permits for basically anything. We can just like shoot stuff and collaborate and see each other. And we don't have to drive 2 hours to go see our friend on the other side of the city. Budgets and board. It's all over the place. I have like just a few clients right now. Like I've just been focusing mostly on YouTube stuff. Um, They've been fine. Things have been fine. I've no one's, like, been trying to knock down my rates or anything like that. I still am able to rent my van out and my red and me and be able to show up to set. Um, so they're fine in that way. It's more that I think there's more volume now. It's like they wanna do a lot more. Obviously, they wanna get, like, a bunch of cut downs for social. They wanna get their 30 and their 60, and so there's, like, a lot more of that, like, volume aspect to it, and so I think that I do feel like there's probably a little bit less money in it right now, and I think this is like a social media meta ad situation that's maybe taking this, um, away. Like, it's just like it's so easy to shoot stuff now. So I don't know. It hasn't super affected me, but I could see it. I could feel it maybe coming. Not full on narrative, but I'm trying to do a lot. Like, I'm just trying to shoot movies because that's just what I wanna do. Trying to focus as much on my own stuff as I can. I'm trying to, like, just try to keep that sustainable. Like, how can I keep shooting my own stuff and keep building my own, body of work while still, like, paying the bills? Even finding jobs doing wedding videos here is hard because they already want, like, 2 plus years of experience in the field, and I'm like, "How do you get started in a job with that?" Yeah, you just need to do some free work, Zachary. Like, you're gonna have to shoot 2 weddings for free or for, like, 300 bucks and prove yourself a little bit like that and have something to show. Proof is so important for so many things. So I would, like, just shoot some stuff. Sushi Donut, I think they are likely underpaid. In LA? Probably. Yeah. Augusta, Georgia, shooting cinematic vlogs. Sure, I think, like, shooting by yourself, practicing as much as possible is really, really important, especially because you can just, like, have a camera in your house and get some cheap lights. And once again, market yourself. Post online. I know it just, like, sounds not fun, but, like, make sure people know you exist. The perfect first client. I don't know. Someone that just, like, sees something in you, and is willing to, like, get behind whatever you're trying to do. Yeah, sushi donut, I feel like it's like the middle ground. There used to be, like, a way of, like, living in the middle and not being, at the top of making movies or doing just straight indies. There used to be all this work in the middle, and now that gap is spreading. It's like you had to make your own movie for 50 grand, or you have to have $20 million. And it's like before there used to be like so many $4 million movies, 10 million dollar movies, $20 million movies. Like those things are just gone. And before social, there was so much commercial work with millions of dollars behind it. Being on a roster, Joshua, you're on a because you're on like a. Are you on a DP roster, or you just mean like Sunny 16? That's cool that that's helping if that is, because I've heard a lot of mixed reviews about that from a lot of my friends that work that way. Verticals are taking over. This is good. Sam Samwise Taylor. Is this Sam Taylor? What's that? Large crews or not large crews? I just feel like it's a personality thing. I don't like large crews. Um, the point of a large crew for me is quality to speed ratio. Like you're getting a lot of quality at a really fast pace. But I like to play and like to like kind of do things with my gut. So it's like, oh, I want to do this, but it's like if there's all these people around, I have to basically just communicate it down the line, and then I get kind of bored. Like the DP, I don't know. The last one where I had like a decent sized crew, I just like sat on the dolly the whole time, and it was kind of boring. Not gonna lie. If the creative is like really inspiring, and I really want to get these like amazing shots, then like having that big crew is so nice. But it's really a speed factor. Um, I remember the first job I really like directed, produced, and DP'd all at once. I had a decent budget, and I was able to have quite a few in my G&E department, which was helpful since I was DPing and directing. I had a really good AD that day, but we were able to get every shot that we needed to get in the allotted time frame, and we wrapped early, which I have almost never wrapped early on a commercial shoot in my life. And it was weird because it was the first one I had really directed and DP'd. And I was like, how did we wrap early? But we had like a really good plan. We had enough G&E to like put up a lot of stuff really fast. And so like the moment I was like, okay, we got to move to this scene or this setup, is like I had five guys just going like rushing in and doing it. Um, so that was awesome. Like the problem solving speed, that's where like the extra people there is so nice. And then like, when they know what they're doing, especially, and they have the right stuff to do it, that's where things slow down, is when you don't have the right equipment to get something done fast. Oh, you're on a director roster with Sunny 16. Nobody's is it. That's great that they're getting you work. So you're getting like national bids then, I'm guessing? And then they're getting a cut, which, I mean, if you're able to jump markets by doing that, which is really nice. Like that whole saying of like do what you do, but just in a bigger market. The rosters thing, I could see being very beneficial to that. I just thought those things were kind of like going away a little bit. I thought they were oversaturated. I didn't know if people were wanting to give up their 10% anymore, or but if it's like exponentially giving you more work and dollars, then that's awesome. I'm getting so many texts. Favorite piece of DIY filmmaking gear? Hmm. I mean, a shower curtain, some shears, Home Depot bounce, or even Home Depot, like you could turn that into like a solid or like a floppy, like use some foam core or something like that and make it black. Like, it's crazy how obviously you like build it a little differently and you put film on it and now it's 10x the cost. So like getting started, there was so many DIY things like that. Um, Frames, like Home Depot style frames, which you probably don't need to do anymore. I'm actually, my next video is about, I'm like going to do a video over building your first like lighting kit, modifier kit, um, for like upcoming filmmakers. And I'll talk about this a little bit, but I made one of those videos like 5 years ago, and a lot of people got a lot of value out of it, but a lot of that stuff in there has changed. Now it's easy to buy stuff for like $50. Like something that I would have to make for $50 that didn't exist now exists, and you can just buy it. Cam Mackey, what is up? Thank you. Thank you so much. Glad you're here. Just get all of the YouTubers in the chat. Who do I need to hit up? Brandon Talbot? Dallas. Oh, Dallas is close to me. 1 day shoot, but a month of prep. I think that's the problem about directing. That's like different than being a DP. Is like the amount of pre-production that has to happen for a director, and you have to be doing that. It's hard to juggle multiple shoots. So if you're not getting paid appropriately, that's hard on the director's side. Whereas like the DP just gets to come in, gets obviously some pre-production, but best advice for someone who wants to film a long form passion project but doesn't know where to start. It's so cliche, but like starting is the thing to do. Just start. Planning. I think planning is really good. Like create a list of actionables, and even if they're very low hanging fruit, start doing those, and that'll snowball you into doing what you want to do. And just remember that you're going to do stuff and fail. So like the worst thing you could do is to not make the thing you want to make. Like even if it's bad, like you just need to start making stuff. Like, I make stuff all the time. I make bad stuff all the time, and then sometimes I make something that's pretty good, right? Like it's just like keep making stuff. Your ego is the only thing that would hold you back, right? Like if you're not gonna die doing it, then do it. I hope that's helpful. I don't know what the exact reason is you're not going, but long form is tough. You could break that up. Long form stuff, you could just break it up into little chunks. Do it slowly, get better as you go, get more resources as you go. Wearables, I don't even want to get into wearables. To me, that's like it's just a side thing that could happen and we might get sucked into it for sure. Um, but I don't know if anyone really wants that yet. I think that like even AI, like we're still like resistant. There's still a lot of resistance to that sort of stuff. I'm new here, but can we all do a project? Yeah, I need to write something, and then we need to like each user, each like member needs to shoot a minute of it, and then put it all together. Yeah, so much prep. Yeah, directing is like a different thing. It's I don't like for commercial stuff. I don't know. It is fun, but I like really stand by the thing that I think it was like Kubrick said. Like you've made it before you get there, and I have now in practice as a director have found that like I really struggle. I'm like I already wrote this thing, storyboarded this things, I planned this whole thing. Like, why do I need to make it now? I'm a hobbyist. I'm also looking for a way to cut costs. Yep, 4 by frame. Yeah, scrappy DOI stuff is fun. I mean, 5-in-1 reflectors, they're like what, $35? And I know that's, I mean, a couple of those would go a long, it goes like a long, long ways when you just started out. Because you can put any light behind that, like some diffusion, or you can bounce it, or you can use it for negative fill. 5-in-1 reflectors are great, and they just like roll up. And this will be in my video for sure. I mean, I made a DIY dolly once, but I never ended up using it that much. I mean, maybe it's a little different for commercial stuff. I'm sorry, Joshua. I was like thinking narrative when I said that. Edmund, yeah, that's great. Making your own stuff is great, and like that's a good way to just like get recognition. If you make your own stuff, eventually people will like gravitate towards it, right? Like I think doers, like doing the thing is what helps you get noticed if you're not getting noticed otherwise, you know? See a sushi donut. That makes me hungry. Well, it's like, yeah, it's crazy that a lot of people are having that problem right now. The Mikeys, however you say it. Haven't had those for a while, but they were good lenses at the time. I do miss the Arls. I did sell those, and I kinda wish I didn't. But the thigh pocs have been good to me. They're just so tiny, and I can just use them so much, so anyone else that's new here, I'm looking also for questions about the Pixis 12K because that should be here on loan soon. So if anyone wants to know anything about that camera specifically, I'm going to try to answer those questions. Yeah, Canon FDs are good. I still haven't sold my Canon FDs either. They're always there just in case I need something extra vibey. Man, what a rush. I know, I feel like the swing is happening again. I know I'm like I'm maybe even late to the game because I was like full vintage. You know, I've been making all this new like content for my the DP mindset, my course. And I've been looking at a lot of footage I've shot over the years. And I still like go back to these things that I shot on vintage lenses with pro mist on them and even like haze in the background. And I know that got like so overdone, but I was looking at those images, it's like these look really good. Like I think vintage needs to really come back. Like maybe even filters need to come back. And I know it's only been like a few years since we were all like, no, 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 no more filters. But like things look so the same already. So I think vintage is fun. Vintage is really fun, even if it's just a feeling for you as like a DP, just to like feel like you're doing a little something else there. I don't know. I wish the vintage lenses. I wish I wouldn't have sold my iron glass Helios. That would have been fun to keep for sure. I think some iron glass would be fun. I do like my FDs a lot. I just wish I had all the aspherical versions. Um, it's also like a focal length issue. Like I wish they had a nice 35 millimeter, but they don't. Like not really. Like people have to kind of piecemeal those together. But the 55 1.2 is really fun. 24 is really fun. Mine just has a couple scratches on it, which sucks. We're bringing back vintage lenses, people. You have a Pixis 12K. Quality control issues. This is what I was worried about. People are losing clips on the new one. Now, is that recording and turtling? Okay, so don't update to 10.0 if your Pixis is not already on it. Ah, okay. You would think that like Blackmagic was coming to the market hard with these sensors. You'd think that they would have not, like they finally would have changed their quality control situation. It's still a pretty reasonable price camera, reasonably priced. The Komodo X is still around the same price, and now I haven't had any issues with the Komodo or the Komodo X. So Do you need the Leica M OLPF on Monstro to mount Thypox? Yes and no. So I was looking for the Leica OLPF, impossible to find. So I bought Kippertie's frame. So it's like a different inset on the frame, and you take out your old OLPF, remove it, and then put it in the Kippertie frame, and that's solved all my problems so far. So now I'm able to use my my Thypox, and I would be able to use Leicas depending on the flange. I don't think the flange distance is too bad on any of the like. I haven't tried the Leicas, so I'm getting at. So what was really cool about it is I can then just like adapt things to that. So I don't have to remove them out every time because I can even like adapt an EF to that. And so like all my Canon FD lenses are EF converted. And so I can just like really cheap adapter, throw the FDs on the end mount. It'll freeze while recording. Dang. Hmm. Maybe they so that's a new firmware thing. I wonder, I mean that's a good sign that it's a new firmware thing because that means that it can just be fixed with firmware. Like if old firmware wasn't doing that, but maybe the sensor is just a hard thing to manage on the 12K. Cam, are you still in here? Curious about that Lumix S12 over the Nikon. I just want all the features of the Lumix in the Nikon. You know what I'm saying? Oh, let me go back up here to Zach. How does Instagram fit into your business right now? Jared Pollan had an interesting rant about it a few days ago and cited that IG was promoting crappy looking content. Hmm. I don't know what it promotes, but I feel like in my circle, in my local circle, posting really is about making sure people know you exist and you still are doing the thing, you know, and that you're still capable. So I still try to post if I can, you know, like it's a weird thing, but like if you're not on the internet, do you exist? Like obviously you do, but like it's a weird thing in this industry. Like you got to be doing it. Promoting crappy photos, I don't know about all that, but mm-mm. Now you got me thinking about where the work is going this year. I feel like I've always had a good run of like just like okay, consistent work, and then I get like one or two like really big jobs. I say really big, like income wise, that can like push me through a bunch more months. And I like that seems like it's always just kind of happened that way. Okay, Zach, maybe I'll look into that. You should get an S1 too. Would love to hear what you think about the image. I really hate how the compressed codecs look. Are you talking about the S12 on the compressed codecs? Or are you talking about the Nikon ZR? Because those, no. People were kind of arguing with me about this, but no, like compared to, so I shoot most of my YouTube content. Oh, interesting. Well, I shoot a lot of my, yeah, YouTube content on my Lumix S5 2X. And compared, like on the Nikon ZR, like the H.265 and the ProRes looked like total garbage compared to the Lumix. and you just wanna expect that. So I just assumed too that the S1 too would look good as well. Hmm. Well, maybe I need to get one of those on loan too and try it out. I mean, I don't really wanna test out a ton of mirrorless cameras, it's just not the type of cameras I use, but I'm trying to do a little bit more hybrid stuff this year, so, it's just like, why have 5 cameras when you can have, like, 2? So that's why I was really hoping that a ZR was going to meet me in the middle there, and so I could, like, get rid of my Komodo, keep my Monstro, because the ZR cuts really well together with the Monstro. Oh, interesting. I mean, I've only seen YouTube comparisons, and it hasn't looked bad, but do we have any other questions in the chat? Any cinematography questions? I know cameras are interesting, but it's like they're all kinda good. I mean, maybe I can ask us some questions, like, what are people interested for YouTube this year? Like, what do you think? I know that I think was it Joshua actually did a poll about this, um, and I haven't got to watch your video yet, Joshua, but it seems like maybe people are asking for something, but the thing that they're asking for is something that never performs, so it seems kind of like a weird cycle. Want more breakdowns and narrative stuff, but every time we upload those things, like I do a lot of narrative behind the scenes, and those don't get views. Am I still using the pool noodle tube setup? The pool noodle setup is great. Like I use it so much. Highly recommend. It's like it changed how I was lighting a little bit because I knew that I could quickly use those lights. And so I was kind of problem solving and like changing my approach a little bit because sometimes I would use those instead of like a Cobb style light. But you can use like two to create wrap, or you can get like a little bit of an edge with one, or a little background light, just like just like for the background edging out things. Now it's not a perfect key light by any means, but yeah, on that narrative project that I shot, that feature film that I shot, and we had so many night exteriors, we were like all the battery powered lights like that was so great. So like the tubes with the pool noodle, kind of game changing. Seriously. Oh, great. Yeah, I had this idea of, like, making pool noodles just for those tubes, and I, like, went down this whole rabbit hole of, like, seeing, like, could I manufacture these things? And it seemed a little tough, so I stopped, um, because it is kind of annoying that they're not the perfect size and you have to cut them open and stuff. But I'm glad that you ordered some on Amazon. Want to see more narratives, specs, commercials, and then the BTS breakdowns. Love camera talks, but also all starting to be the same. I still watch though. Yeah, still watch though. Yeah, I think it's just a hard thing. And a lot of YouTubers are trying to do this, but it takes a lot of work to like go make something really good that you can break down. And that whole game is just like a tricky, not always sustainable. So that's why you probably see a lot less of that stuff. Obviously, turning on a camera and just like talking is easier, and then like comparing two cameras is easier. Although those take a long time to edit for me. I'm just like all the side by sides take a long time to edit. But can you explain the general idea behind eye line? I think that's what it's called. Yeah. Like where should my subject's eye be on A cam shot and B cam shot? Let's say interview with the medium. Ah, uh-huh. Yeah, so there are different approaches to eye line when it comes to interviews, and it's really gonna come down a little bit to creative and what the director wants. But generally, what I like to do is have I put my interviewee or my interviewer as close to a camera as possible, which would be like the wide, not the tight. And I essentially have them almost touching the camera. And so you have your subject not looking directly into camera because that would kind of break the fourth wall and be weird, but they're just off, so you can tell they're talking to someone else. Um, and that is like the most engaging way for the eyes for me. So you don't want it too high or too low. You want them on the exact same chair if you can. Like if you show up to a location and you're shooting an interview, try to have them be get the exact same chair, and so their eyes are at the same eye level, snug it up to camera. And I usually have my key light touching the interviewer, like just often, I because like how I like to wrap light, like that's just usually where my key light ends up. So a lot of times my interviewer is like under my 8 by grid or like touching it. Um, and then for the close up, you can kind of vary that. Like if it's something really moody and you want it dramatic, you can move that close up really far around, and that really hard off angle is going to give a dramatic look, but it's going to be kind of creepy, right? It's more like serial killer documentary sort of stuff, like suspense. But if it's something that's just like corporate, you want it to be kind of pleasant, then I try to bring that close up camera super close to the A camera, maybe only 30-degree difference. Um, about the same eye line. Sometimes I like to have my close up camera, my B camera, just a little bit higher and tilted down a little bit, just like a little bit more pleasing on the face. Changes the background up a little bit. It's a little bit harder to light this way, or it's harder to light if you bring the camera too far around. Closer the camera is, a little bit easier it is to light because the background is going to be the same mostly. But yeah, you don't want the eye line to be like they're looking over here, like the camera right now, right? You want it to be like as close to the. So if this is my camera here, you want it to be like as close as you can get it. That's how I do it. The indie movies, think indie games are less saturated would be my guess. People like competing for people's attention is really hard right now. And indie movies cannot do what big budget movies do. And so you have stuff like Tubi, where there's just a bunch of indie movies, but there's still a lot to go through. And the problem is marketing. You can't market an indie movie without money. So you may not even know they exist, but maybe there is a lot that do exist. You know, it's just a tricky thing like that. And games have a lot more engagement, so you're on them every day, but you watch a movie once and you move on. It's just a much harder thing. Hard lighting and fill. Yeah, I've been thinking about doing some more hard lighting stuff. Um, really, like, yeah, hard lighting, and you do need a little bit of fill with hard lighting. I lean that way, and then I like to keep my background, trying to keep my background having still as much contrast as I can with hard lighting. So if you're gonna have the face lit that way, like how can you make the background um, stand out or not stand out rather? So either make it really dark so you like accentuate your subject, or kind of even the playing field. Yeah, I could. I was been thinking about doing some hard light stuff. See you, Zach. Yeah, there's a lot more lights going on film, like a lot more lights on in the room, a lot more fill light for the shadows. They were so scared about the shadows. Um, and when you do it that way too, it's also nice to have a light meter to be more dialed in on that sort of thing. But I like the idea too of like the middle ground. So you're not doing a bare bulb hard light and you're not doing a soft light, but maybe just like a little bounce, like a 4 foot bounce. So you're getting like this quality of hard light, but you're able to have just a little bit of softness with it. And then if you can fill in those shadows a little bit with a big soft source kind of backed off, that can help with the hard light thing as well. It's really about exposure in the room, that like that ambient exposure. Could you replicate the true film look? Yeah, I think it could. Like, I think it's really funny about we were talking earlier about how things look now. And there's so many good examples of there's this kind of cheesy end of the world movie called Knowing with Nicolas Cage, and it was shot on the first Red 1 camera. But the cinematographer clearly came from film. Obviously, it was like before people had really transitioned into digital. And I think you should go watch that movie. It's shot on like Cook S4s or something like that. Everything's shot at like T4. And but he lit it like he would light film. And the color is also a film print emulation. You can just tell. And it's wild. There's so much hard light, but there's so much shape. It looks really good. Like it looks really, really good. And it's shot on a Red 1, which is the worst red camera ever made. Um, so I do think it's like you can replicate that old lighting look still with digital. I think a lot of people got scared at first. They're like, "Oh, we got to take away light. We got to take away light." But it really all comes down to just like where the light is living, right? Um, to stop down that lens. Have I seen the lighthouse? Yes, I've seen the lighthouse. Uh, cinematography. That's a tricky one. It's not like my style, but it's an interesting look, and I think it worked for the story. And there's some really cool like frames in there that you can tell are like inspired by paintings and old photos. So I found that interesting. It's a good idea, Harry. I think maybe I should add that to my YouTube list here. Let me pull up my notes and do that right now. A lot of that comes down to the color too. So color can do so much to a scene. And I think that's why film and hard lighting was so much easier. But people were afraid of underexposed in the shadows, but the color of film gives so much nuance to a frame that you can have deep focus, lots of wild lighting, and you still have like a really um, bold image. But you can do that with digital, of course, too. I think people were just afraid when digital came about. But everyone go check out Knowing. I'm going to drop it in the chat here. Probably Nicolas Cage's like worst performance, but the movie has a pretty fun old school look. Let's see, any more cinematography questions? Any struggles that people are having? I feel like that's a good place to start. Like, what's something that just like happened to you recently and you couldn't problem solve your way out of? Maybe I can help with that. Mm. Is now a good time to shamelessly plug my course? I think it's a really cool thing. I really do. Like, wish I would have had it when I started. So, dpmindset.com. It's in the description if you want to check it out. And I think what's fun about that too is the Discord. We're gonna do this stuff every day. If you guys just want to chat, we can jump into Discord and chat, and that's a part of the course. See if I have any frames on here we can talk about. This is my laptop, and I don't generally use it anymore. I've got some stuff from this commercial I was talking about earlier. We shot on the signature primes. These are like straight out of camera. I'll pull that up here. Yeah, there we go. So this one was like kind of a tricky one. This one was fun, like doing car interiors and trying to keep them consistent throughout the whole day. It's like quite a challenge. So I think we had. I really wanted to make a breakdown over this commercial, but it hasn't come out yet, so I haven't been able to. For some reason, it won't share just the screen. But so we've got like a 12 by black solid over the top of this car to even out all of the light. We've got a 1200 coming in from over here through some diffusion, I believe. And I think we even had, actually, it might have been a 2400 watt light. And then we had some other lights coming back here to kind of like edge out the back. And then she has her own key as well, this girl in the back. Let me actually pull up this other frame. This one here, I like this one a lot. A lot of shape on this one. But trying to sell this like daylight look the whole day, especially when it's cloudy out. So having these kind of like random harsh accents coming in through here, then having that harsh key here, and then black all over the car to give us shape coming down. This is on the Monstro with the signature primes. So, oh, I'm gonna stop sharing that. I don't know why I wouldn't just share that one window. It's annoying. I feel like the YouTube streaming stuff has changed. Here, I'm gonna drop those back in here. There we go. It's one of those things where you're shooting, like we were shooting like in this car all day. And so trying to keep it consistent all day is like that was the main problem we were trying to solve. So when like you really have to plan for these things, like where is the sun going to be at the whole time? Is it going to like actually come through the car window, or like do you have control over that at all? And that's why we did this overhead to start. It's just so we didn't have to deal with as much light coming in. This was in the middle of the summer, which did make it easier. And then trying to get levels right in a car, if depending on what the interior is, if the interior is black, that can help if you want a lot of shape like this, if you want it really moody, which this shot is probably too moody for the spot, but I did it anyways. And you can see here, like, the signature primes just look really good. It's probably hard on YouTube streaming, but these are, like, really, really nice. It's T19 completely open, and it's really, really sharp. So I think I have some behind the scenes from this. I have some behind the scenes on here. We can actually see some of it, but it's heavy, heavy prep on this one. Yeah, let me find a photo here. I've got some stuff. The thing about shooting in cars too is just having the level matching the background. So, like, having enough level on a face inside of a car is where things can get challenging. Because if you want to expose out the window, we got lucky on this first shot because it was a bit cloudy. But generally speaking, if that background is bright, you're going to bring down the car interior a lot. So you're trying to throw a lot of light in there, but still try to keep it soft and have direction. Okay, I'm pulling in this video. We'll see if I can play it back. Give you a little taste of the rig here. Yeah. So you can see we have this big overhead. There's actually a little dolly shot. So we've got the dolly up here on it. We've got a slider on the dolly. 1200-watt light with a Fresnel to give it a lot of punch, and then I believe it's another 1200 there. We might have had the 2400 man light out as well. If I, he says, if I end up on your YouTube channel. Yeah, there you go. That's the 2400 back there. But starting with the overhead was kind of like the main goal, which was hard because dealing with the car, you got to get the stands outside the car, still able to get the dolly in there and move. Yeah, 47 millimeter signature prime there. Now you can light cars without this much gack, but for what we were doing, we had the budget, and it just was going to take. There's just so much time in the car. We wanted to keep it consistent, so we had a lot of lighting going on there. See, I think I have some more here from that. Yeah, we end up diffusing these lights. Here, I'm gonna throw this in. Let's bring up this window again so you can look at that frame. Actually, let's bring up the other frame. Got this like this one was challenging too because we had to get the camera like on the hood basically. There we go. I'm also gonna send this over. And so you can see, like, this is where continuity really goes out the window. Like, on that first shot, we have all this shadow here, right? And for this one, though, it made sense to have more of the shadow side over here, to have lighting on her face here and having lighting on her face here. And there's a rack that happens here from front to back. So I just like completely blew the continuity. I just said, forget the continuity just to make it look better. And they both have to have their own key light for this too, which was tough. Getting those levels right and getting the softness similar while still kind of like keeping it all consistent. Here, let's see. I think there's another BTS here. So you can kind of see where we how we have this camera over the top. So a lot of light here. We use the slider to pull that camera out over the top more. I think we even cropped into 7K and we're on a 75 millimeter. Fresnel's on this 1200 just to give it punch, but then it'll get softened by this 4 by frame. Tough too, we have all the car, we just like couldn't move the car. We could barely open the door to let the actors in. Sometimes you just box yourself in like that. And once again, here was that final frame. This was probably a this is probably a later setup though, because we have a key light on the other side. I think I have more frames from this. Let me stand by. Yeah, continuity just goes out the window when you're doing stuff like this. And in a little 30-second spot, you probably really want to notice. So we have this one here. Oh, yeah, keys on this side. So this is more what that behind the scenes was. That last video was doing was this shot here. You can see how we still have some shape, some shadow. The black interior is doing a lot for us. Key light over here, another light coming through on this back window, and then even one. I think we tried to have some coming even backlighting through the back, but that didn't really work out. I think we ended up bailing on it for this one, but later on we needed more of like selling that sunlight look because when we go to the exterior shots, we're outside the car, the sun came out. So we were trying to match all that. All right, folks. I'm gonna stay on for just a few more minutes. Any questions or anything to chat about? Because I'm gonna have to get off here. I've got a little filmmaker meetup I'm trying to go to later. All right. If there's no more questions, 2 new people just popped in. Any questions there before I get off here? I'm all ears. Would you wanna see more breakdowns like that? I could start queuing up some, frames for other live streams, and I could break down kind of my approach to some of that stuff. Just in the future, I can actually plan for it, and we actually have a little bit more of an intention here. Goals in the next 2 years. Yeah, I just wanna probably wanna make one of my own movies. That's definitely the plan. Um, I think that's kind of the only way in at this point is to make your own movie, get recognized that way, um, try to get your own self distribution, possibly, maybe make a little bit of money back so you can make another movie, but really just keep making stuff, keep making movies for sure. Um, I would love to get one done this year, like something that most likely I've written and then I'll direct. I'll probably shoot it too, actually, um, and obviously document all that for YouTube. But that's probably the plan at this point. It's like my taste has changed a lot in that front and what I want to create in the feature film department. And so, but my last short was like a lot different than some stuff I had made before, and I kind of like I'm leaning. I was trying to expand that into a feature, and I have 2 other feature film ideas. I've written another feature, so I got a lot of stuff like possibilities, but it's really like which one will be the right one to start with. Figuring out funding is kind of a process. Sponsorships aren't what they used to be. Um, so could start if you get the Suray Saturn set of 3 lenses or one of the new Suray Astra lenses. Which would you recommend for the money? Now I haven't used the Astras. I've used the Saturns. Specifically, why are you leaning towards the Surays? Is it like a mount thing or is it like a squeeze factor thing? I just don't love the Surays. They have like the often have the blue flare. I know you can get amber, Nikon, in size and price. I see. Hmm. I just if I had used the Astras, I could talk. Is the Astra the one that has the autofocus? Yeah, that's the new one. So that's a 1.33x. I do feel like they like change and iterate a lot. I do think that maybe going with the newer ones is probably the smarter move. 1.33x isn't a lot of squeeze. So it's like if you really want to go anamorphic, try to get something with more of a stretch on it or go spherical, and then just like crop it or do whatever you want in post. But the autofocus is intriguing, I'm sure, for a lot of people. The Saturns were fine. I didn't love them. I didn't love the quality of the Saturns. It was cool what they could do. It was cool how small they were. And I did use them like against, I think I did put it up against an Atlas Orion when I tested them. And it was definitely like fun that you could have such a small version of that, but they're not like optically not very good. They're like, they have a kind of a weird soft, like not softness, it feels like there's like a roundness to them, like a smeariness to them. That probably didn't help at all. I'm so sorry. Anamorphics really aren't like something I go into a lot and dive into. So you could always try and then, and then resell it or return it. So you're welcome. It's really what it comes down to with lenses. You can rent them or just like trying them out. Like you really don't know what you like until you are using it on set. You can watch videos all day, but really like using something, it's going to be really helpful. There's plenty of things that I thought I would like, and then after actually testing, I'm like, wow, this is actually not for me. That's why YouTube is fun for me because I can try out these things. Also, the Nikon, I don't know what Nikon you're using, but I don't think they have anamorphic modes in them. So be careful with that. All right, folks, I think I'm going to get off of here for today. I'm a little parched, but this was a good hang. We'll do this again soon. I'll probably start doing this a lot more. Here, I'll answer one more question here. Komodo X, would you go with the Canon mount or Z mount? Which one's more future proof? If you don't have anything in your kit yet, I would go Z mount because the Z mount is the most adaptable mount like ever made. Like, you can put a Sony E glass on there if you needed to. So I think Z is really good for adapting for the future. And if you're going to stick with red, their Z mount's going to be probably the only mount they have at some point. So if you want to future proof that, if you're going to stay in the red ecosystem, etc., um, Canon already has it. Like Canon and Nikon are going to both have their limitations, but I would go Z mount if you have nothing else already in your kit. Now, if you have some stuff in your kit already, obviously, if you don't want to have to sell all that stuff and you want to be able to adapt it, then. But the Nikon mount is really cool. That like really wide mouth and that like short flange distance, and you can just like adapt everything to it. Makes it really, really unique and really, really awesome, honestly. All right, everyone, I'm gonna get off of here. I hope everyone has a good day. Um, I'll see you soon. Peace.